I am Gunnar. Let's see, I've been with Ohio Health for several years as a chaplain. I got my start in this little place you may have seen somewhere along the way known as Grant Medical Center, working with the trauma team and lots of on-call in the emergency department, lots of families, the ICU at Grant, and then also at Riverside. So I've worked with a lot of families along the way around death, dying, all kinds of that end-of-life issues, leading up to both surprised and planned for, so to speak. And I now work with Ohio Health in terms of our freestanding emergency departments and manage the chaplains that respond to those. So, good morning. Common responses after emotional loss. We're going to look at those. So, we're talking about crisis. So what we're talking about is, everybody's kind of in balance, if you will, right? Today's a good day. I've got some thinking stuff going on. My feelings are kind of in check, and I'm pretty well in balance. I might be having a bad day, but I'm still pretty well in balance. A crisis comes, it's unexpected, it's sudden, it's very short duration, poof, somebody has a cardiac arrest, that's a crisis. It's in our usual coping methods, right? So I'm a little anxious, I'm going to slow myself down talking, try to breathe a little bit. Okay, that's my usual coping method. Crisis hits, that kind of goes out the window, right? So all bets are off, so to speak, when a crisis hits. Everything is out of balance, is what we're talking about. There's high anxiety, emotional shock, and then, in crisis there is, no, I'm not having a crisis. There's denial there. There's anger, remorse, grief, and then eventually we come to this reconciliation. I've made it through this crisis. So it's similar to actual grief. The grief process, the stages of grief, but there's also these stages that go through with crisis as well. Dietz talks about this really well in his book, and some of this is out of that. So those early stages, right? You respond to the scene. These are the stages that you're most likely going to encounter people going through. That anxiety and shock. What's going on? What's happening? Why is this happening? This wasn't expected. Denial. No, they're not dying. Get them back. Get them back. They're going to be okay. And you may know when you walk in the door, this ain't going to go well. But they're like, no, you're here. Oh, thank goodness you're here. You're going to save them. Right? We see that in the hospital too, in the emergency room. Oh, okay. And then they might be angry. Well, why didn't you do everything? Why didn't you do more? Well, we did everything we could, right? We pulled out all the tools out of the toolbox and we used them all. We used all the drugs, et cetera, et cetera. So they might be a little in denial. They might have some anger. Those are those early responses to crisis. Similar to grief, but responses to crisis. Anxiety, what does it look like? They might be, as you're working, they might be sitting there, what's going on, or fiddling with stuff, pacing, or just watching intently. What will we do? There's a lot of anxiety going on while the situation is unfolding. Denial, everything's going to be okay. You're here. You're going to make everything okay. I'm sorry, Mary is dead. No, not dead. I mean, I've been in the emergency room. I've had wake up, right? So I've had people, a wife, come right up to the head of the patient after the doc has pronounced the patient dead. Wake up, wake up, wake up. And what do? I just let her do that. She has to work through that denial phase, right? Wake up. There's a denial there. Refusal to hear updates about the no, I don't want to hear it. Just keep working. So you're in this kind of tension, right? Doc's saying, well, we want to keep updating families. And you might have somebody denying, no, I don't want an update. Just keep working. So you got to kind of balance and work through that because you do still want to provide those updates. Walking away, no, I can't handle this right now. Well, okay, can you give me somebody in the family who can, because we need to update you, we need to keep you informed, etc. So that's kind of what denial might look like. Anger at the victim, right? I told you to stop eating all that junk food. yelling, shouting at, why didn't you listen to me? Why didn't you listen to me? I told you what to do. I told you you were sick. Why didn't you go to the doctor? At you, do something, do more. Why are you stopping? Right? So there could be some anger there. And it's in this time where bereaved family members are vulnerable. Everything's going on. So what we do and what we say in that moment is what's critical, because it impacts the rest of their lives. And they will remember, I've met people a year or 2 years later on down the road, and quite honestly, I didn't remember that I had met them in the hospital setting or in the emergency room setting, and they're like, thank you so much for everything you did. I'm like, you're welcome. I don't know what I did. I don't even remember who you are, to be quite honest. I'm not going to tell you I don't remember who you are, right? But they remember the compassion, the sensitivity that we display and give to them in that moment. Okay? So they will remember the care and concern that we show. You may have family members bereaved who have some remorse or regret. I should have done more. I should have forced my husband to go to the doctor. I should have taken him to the doctor. I should have, why didn't I do this? Why didn't I do that? Saying it's not your fault will not help. Why do I say that? They're not ready to hear that, right? They're kind of bound up in this, it's my fault, I should have done this, I should have done that. And that's part of their grieving. So, we don't want them to feel uncomfortable. That's us. That's our anxiety. I want you to feel better about this. It's not your fault. It's okay. You're going to get through this. But if they're not ready to hear, it's not really going to help. And we usually say that out of our anxiety. So it's a natural stage, that remorse, regret, and they will move through it. And it may feel uncomfortable for us, but we may or may not really help with anything we say in terms of moving them through that remorse or regret. So you can say, just repeat again, I'm sorry. Just kind of leave it at that, I'm sorry.